everybody in the right frame of mind to kind of learn and think about what this experience might be all about.
Hey everyone, how you doing? It's great to see lots of parents and students, and I imagine that there's more than a few of you where there's like parents and students crowded around a laptop right now, and there's more than a few parents using student profiles because we kind of discovered that Google Meets tends to work a little bit better. If you want to play along with me, you can turn your camera on for this, but you don't necessarily have to. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do though. I still want to ask you to play along. So what I'm going to have you do is put your hand out like this, and you're going to point your thumb to you're gonna point your thumb up for your first option. You're gonna point your thumb to the side for the second option. We don't do thumbs down. That's just not fun. All right. So for example, I'm gonna say it's time to get some ice cream. Do you want to get vanilla ice cream or do you want to get chocolate ice cream? Vanilla or chocolate? Ready? Vanilla or chocolate? Make your choice. All right, I can see that. That's good. Owen's like, hey, yeah, man, I can pop in here with your thumb. That's good. All right. Do you want, all right, pizza, pineapple on pizza? Excellent. No, man, fruit don't belong on pizza. That's a hot one. All of that. I love it when I can see multiple thumbs. Like some people are like disagreeing, right? That's a family fight right there. You're ordering pizza and you're like, pineapple? No, yes, right? I don't love to see people fight, but let's say, all right. How about this? Favorite season. How many people are my summer people? Where are my winter people? Where are my spring people? We're going to go sideways like that. And where are my fall people at? We'll give you the finger for the fall people. All right. That's good. Yeah. Some of you are like, oh, I love to see the leaves change. Others of you are like, no, man, that's cold. I want summer. I'm in with the summer. Right? Some of you are like, I love winter when I'm in Florida, right? How about this one? Give me a thumbs up if you would like $500 today, and give me a thumbs to the side if you would like $5,000, but you got to wait a year. That's interesting. We got our investors, and we got people like, are you kidding? I got plans, man. I got plans. I know where that money's going right now, right? This is really interesting. You guys can turn your cameras off now. It's really interesting because what you just did right there was make a lot of choices. What I find so interesting is parents come in and they say things like, man, I can't believe the number of options kids have in high school these days. Parents are often like, man, you guys are so lucky. You get to have so many choices. And so many students look at me and go, man, this sucks. I have so many choices. I got too many choices, right? That is one thing that's absolutely incredibly cool about high school these days. These days, students have a lot more choice in terms of their high school. Here at Eco Studies, we are a specialist high skills major program. These are programs that did not exist back when, man, I wish this program existed when I was in high school. That's why I teach it now, because I wish I could do it then. The thing is that these choices, we didn't have these kind of choices. But I always like to point something out. When you make a choice, you can make a safe choice or you can make a risky choice, right? Here's one. I'm not going to ask you the thumb thing right now. I'm just going to ask you this question, all right? Would you take $1,000 that you have a 50% chance of losing or $500 that's guaranteed? It's an interesting one to think about. What if it's only $200 that's guaranteed? Are you still taking the safe money? Or are you willing to take a little bit more of a risk? Right? Yeah, Harrison says, yeah, man, I want the $500 guaranteed. But you could have had $2,000. But there's a 50% chance you're going to lose it. Right? It's an interesting thing. One of the things about choice, I love this quotation up here from Jim Carrey, that say, so many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. Because I just said you're going to get $2,000, but you got a 50% chance of losing it. Or you can have $200 guaranteed. I just changed the equation now. How many people are willing to take the $200? It's interesting because you could have $2,000. If you were to take the money, I like this. This is I see right here. Krishna, is it Krishna? You're one of the Krishna. You're a thinker. You're like, yeah, man. I take that $500. I'm gonna put that $200 investment, right? You're like, yeah, let's go to a GIC or something like that. You're thinking away the problem. You're a problem solver right there. Yeah, a lot of people are going, oh yeah, I'll take the $2,000 now. It makes more sense, right? You start doing the math, and you're like, well, it makes more sense. But even if it makes more sense to do it that way, a lot of people go, no, but I'm gonna take the safe path. There's some people here from other schools right now. I'm gonna tell you right now, the safer path is to stay at your school. You know what you're getting. You might not like what you're getting, but you know what you're getting, right? Coming to a new school, do something different. That takes a bit of a risk. Speaking of risk, that's my like next slide cue. Speaking of risk, we have a cool opportunity. High risk, high reward, Owen says. I like that. I like that attitude, right? High risk, high reward. Now, I'm not saying go out there and take as many risks as possible. All right. Before you guys are like, your parents are like, dude, I don't want you, I don't know, doing something dangerous, and your parents are, you're going like, oh, Mr. Sefton said I should take high risk. No, I don't want to be involved in that discussion. Leave me out of it. All right. But what I do like to challenge you to do is wonder if you're staying in your comfort zone. I love that little diagram, your comfort zone. And then it says right there, where the magic happens. And if you do what you always do, you'll get what you've always got. So that's why I think thinking about these programs is really important. Maybe you're not going to do it, but I think it's important to think about it. Because the fact of the matter is, I don't want to see a bunch of you guys out here. And when I say that, I mean some students. I don't want to see people going, oh, if only, maybe I could have, I should have, right? One of the really more interesting things that I remember is we had a student that did eco studies. She had an absolutely incredible experience about it. And her sister, I taught her sister, I knew her sister really well. And she came back, and when her sister finished eco studies, she sent me a message that said, man, I wish I'd done eco studies. I said, well, why didn't you? She said, because I wasn't sure about it. It's interesting. We go outside our comfort zone, we can learn a lot. So one of the things that students are often asked, you guys are in grade 10, you get to do this awesome like careers thing, right? And students are often asked this question, what do you want to do with your life? Or what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Everyone, we got the holidays coming out right now. That's the opportunity where you get to meet people you never talked to. You get to go in, and there's Uncle, I think his name was Fred. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Fred, right? And what's going to be the first question they're going to ask you, every student? They're going to look at you and they're going to say, what do you want to do when you grow up? They're going to say, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And you look at them and you go, I'm 15. I am not qualified to make that decision. I had this really cool opportunity. I was leading a group of students, and I asked, it was one of those things where I had students paired up with each other, and I said, here, ask a question, partner, ask a question, partner. And they talked about these questions, right? And then I sort of like got the group together. One of the questions I asked, thinking I was being innocuous and safe with this question, but I now realize is actually a very scary question to ask people. One of the questions I asked was, so what do you want to do when you grow up? Or actually what I said is, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up, right? I'm asking people, you get a lot of the typical answer, right? I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a doctor, right? And that's awesome. And I love that. And there was this kid, one of those human beings who is a small human. And I mean that in so many senses of the word. Like, we're talking not a very big person, but also the kind of person that can make themselves disappear whenever they want. They close in real quick, right? And the kid who had done the most talking already, we were maybe like 10 minutes into meeting these people, but the kid who'd done the most talking, this boisterous kid, happened to be partnered up with this kid. And I'm getting answers. What do you want to be when you grow up? And this guy's going, oh, ask him, ask him, ask him. He's like calling it. I'm like, okay, fine, let's hear. And I look at this kid, this small person, and I go, so your partner says you have a brilliant answer to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this kid just looked at us and went, happy. And I went, dang, you just won. I didn't know it was a game, but you just won. That's the right answer. I didn't think there was a right answer. It turns out there was. That was it. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be happy. So is the question about finding your career for the rest of your life? Nah, we can't help you with that at school. We can't help you with that. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome if you do. Some of you, came into this world and at like 4 years old, were like, I will be a pediatric oncologist. Like, cool, whatever. You got your life planned out. You're good. You're set. That's awesome. But there's a whole lot of us going, man, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. And that's okay. That's okay. The real question is, what are you passionate about? And I like to phrase it to students like this. I say, you got one semester, and in one semester, you can do whatever you wanted. What would you do? Now, I'm going to start with this. Some of you are teenagers, so I have to take this option off the table. I say, one semester, you can do whatever you want. A bunch of you are going to be like, I would legit hibernate. Like, we're talking full on bear mode. You give me one semester, I will give you 3 months of sleep. I'll be like training the dog to deliver food to my room, right? I take that option away from you, and I want you to really think about what your answer to that question is. For some students, I'm like, what? I give you one semester off. What would you do? Some people are like, yo, I want to be like gaming and coding and stuff like that. That's cool. There's a place for you. There's a high school experience you can have that allows you to get into that, right? Some of you are like, yo, man, you give me a semester off, I am getting jacked. I'm going to like hit the weights, right? Like, I'm going to be so buff. It's going to be ridiculous. I have to turn sideways when I walk into rooms, flex, the shirt just explodes off my body, right? That's awesome. If your passion is fitness, you really should talk to our health and wellness program. We have an amazing health and wellness fitnessism that we offer at Aldershot High School. One of the answers I get all the time is, I want to travel. I want to see things. I want to do things. That's what we're all about here at Eco Studies. If that's your answer, if you're going, I want to see things, I want to go out, I want to see the world, I want to experience the world, I want to do things hands-on, you're in the right place. And I encourage you to really pay a lot of attention to what we're about to talk about here today, because that's what Eco Studies is all about. One of our sort of mottos, and I know it sounds a little cheesy, is don't just learn it, live it. Here at Eco Studies, we want you to truly experience. We want you to truly experience learning, not just learn a bunch of stuff, but we want you to truly experience learning. And we're going to show you what that looks like right now with this very informative video.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Sefton. I'm going to click onto our longer promo video. This is sort of going to set the stage for a lot of the stuff we're going to dive into in a lot more detail over the next half hour or so. But it also sets the stage by some of our alumni. So enjoy, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
We're here to talk to you about the RBG Eco Studies program at Aldershot High School.
Eco Studies is an integrated learning environment,
which means you will be taking all of your courses in the second semester as part of the program. In Eco Studies, you can earn up to 6 high school credits in one semester. Even better, you can take Eco Studies in either grade 11 or 12.
You'll have the same class and same teachers for the whole semester.
Why is this a good thing?
Because it means that whenever we're all together, it's like being in class. That gives us freedom to take ownership of our learning and learn in different spaces and in different ways.
The program is run in partnership with the Royal Botanical Gardens, Canada's largest botanical garden spanning over 2,400 acres of natural area.
This fabulous green space is our second home for the Eco Studies semester.
We also have the opportunity to participate in adventure trips as part of our learning.
We do 3 days hiking the Bruce Trail.
We do a backcountry canoe trip in Killarney Provincial Park and more.
Our classes are based around school and community initiatives,
like Environmental Information Days and the Eco Rangers program, where we work with elementary students.
Eco Studies is part of an Aldershot's Environmental Specialist High Skills major.
If you complete the components of the Specialist High Skills major program, you get a specialized diploma and transcript that you can use when applying for jobs or post-secondary schools.
Some colleges and universities even have scholarships for Specialist High School major graduates.
In Eco Studies, the courses we take are grade 11 First Nation, Inuit, and Métis Studies, which is the grade 11 English credit.
Grade 12 Earth and Space Science.
Grade 12 Environment and Resource Management.
Grade 12 Outdoor Leadership, plus 2 co-op credit courses.
So, who should apply for Eco Studies? Well, are you a leader, or do you want to explore leadership opportunities? Are you interested in current issues? Are you looking to do something different with your time in high school?
Would you like to be more involved in your learning? Do you like the idea of a more collaborative classroom?
Do you like being outdoors or being active? Do you need to see connections from their classroom to the real world?
I took Eco Studies because I was interested in trying something new.
I took eco-studies because I wanted to experience more hands-on learning opportunities and to get an opportunity to see all these important environmental issues out there in the world firsthand.
I took eco studies because I'm interested in the environment and I learn better by doing.
I took eco studies because I found it to be a great opportunity to try something new and kind of like go outside my comfort zone and do something that I've never really done before in my entire life.
My favorite part about eco studies was the different kind of learning opportunities that you wouldn't get in a regular classroom.
My favorite part about eco studies was all the leadership opportunities that I got when I was there. Something that I've applied the most in my post-secondary career was the Eco Rangers program, specifically facilitating and helping younger students through team building activities helped me get jobs at Trent University. I work for the Student Affairs Office now in leadership positions.
My favorite part of eco studies was definitely the campfire stories we got to tell during our camping trips throughout the year.
You're given all these problems from Mr. Sefton and Mr. Blair where you kind of have to band together and overcome all these obstacles. It's just, it's different, you know, it doesn't feel like school because you're learning, but it's in such an unorthodox way that you just end up having a lot of fun. Let's say you're not going into a career path that is in eco studies, it actually helps you out in so many other ways, not only personality, but the idea that it changed me in so many ways, made me more confident, and I lost a lot of social anxiety and these barriers that I had. For me, I'm currently in Ireland. I'm studying medicine, and I have a course that is medical zoology, and we're actually covering some topics that were covered in eco studies, which I found really interesting.
I would recommend eco studies even if it's something that you're not interested in, even if you're not into camping or the environmental field in general. You will gain a ton of experience and a lot of interdisciplinary skills. It's definitely kind of gotten me where I am today, and I'm super, super happy that I kind of was courageous in my grade 11 year and decided to take it. So if you're interested in eco studies, go to ecostudies.ca or talk to your guidance counselor now.
We recommend you apply soon because spaces are pretty limited.
All right, so that always sounds way better coming from a group of our eco alumni. So that's sort of the Coles Notes version of all of the major pieces of the eco studies experience. And over the next few minutes, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what that all means. So thanks to Mr. Sefton for that great intro. I hope he's got kind of everybody thinking along the lines of being a little bit courageous, like Jenna said, and what taking a leap into eco studies for next semester might be all about. Okay, so we have three main pillars that eco studies stands on. Our ECO, beginning to the program name, is more than just about ecology and the environment. It is basically an acronym for what we stand for as a program. So the E part is sort of the what we learn about, and that's Earth and Environmental Science. So it takes a little bit of a different tack than a lot of other environmental programs that are more sort of environmental lifestyle based, and really digs into what makes the planet tick. I personally believe that for those of you who are passionate about the environment, and I know there's many of you that have joined us tonight, which is amazing, that in order to be able to figure out how to do something about the numerous things, the numerous issues that we currently face as a planet, we got to first understand how our planet works, and that's sort of the starting point for a lot of the learning that we take together. So that's the Earth and Environmental Science bit. Then the second part is that we do learning a little bit differently. It's cooperative and it's leadership based. So that means much of what we do together as a group is focused on a particular goal, and that goal may change throughout the semester. But we're always working together to achieve something bigger than any of us can do by ourselves. And that's a really awesome feeling to be part of that whole continuum. And then the last part is the fact that we get outside. There's nothing like learning about the environment when you're surrounded by that environment. And we are so lucky to have access to 1,000 hectares of some of the most biodiverse ecosystem in southern Ontario, and that of course is the RBG Arboretum. So more about that in a minute. Okay, so the nuts and bolts of what you get after you leave Eco Studies on paper is we are super excited to be able to offer now a 6-credit package. And you might be thinking to yourself, wait, hold on. I thought Eco Studies was only 1 semester. And it is. We have for the last few years been advocating really hard to give students that are involved in Eco Studies credit for the experiences that they do as part of the program that extend beyond the school day. And that means when we go on our adventure trips, where we're gone for, you know, as many as 5 days at a time, there's a lot of time that you're giving up and a lot of time that you're committing to the program that previous Eco Studies students had just done willingly and as part of the process. And it really is the best part of the process. However, we recognize that one of the things that made it, and you're going to see this in a minute, the hardest part to complete a specialist high skills major diploma was the inability to fit 2 co-op credits into a timetable in your other 3 semesters in grade 11 and 12. For some people, it was just downright impossible. And then that's a shame, because in Eco Studies, you do more to earn your specialist high skills major than just about any other program in Halton. So we have we've advocated hard over the last few years, and for the first time ever next semester, we will be able to allow students in the program to, via night school, get 2 extra co-op credits for doing basically what students have always done. Now, there will be some co-op classwork that has to happen, and that'll happen via night school. But for those of you who weren't sure you could ever achieve a specialist high skills major because, you know, your timetable is so packed with a, you know, an iSTEM commitment or something like that, it's now possible, because this is a door that opens up when we can condense things into 1 semester. And the best part about the other part is that our other 4 credits basically make up the bulk of the rest of the requirements that you need for that specialist high skills major. We'll get more into the nuts and bolts of that in a minute. So the program credits, the ones that address again, how the planet works, are grade 12 Earth and Space Science, SES 4U, which is a 4U science class. Some students will opt to take the Forces of Nature CGF 3M course instead. Biggest difference there is an astronomy unit, and you know, whether you're college or university bound. But either one will count equally towards your working towards your specialist high skills major. We also have a grade 12 environment and resource management course. This is our big idea, big issue course, combined with our grade 11 Indigenous Voices English, which is now amazingly going to be part of every student's grade 11 experience at Aldershot. We've been doing it now for about 7 years. And it's an amazing way to spend you know, your grade 11 English experience a little bit differently. And we have grade 12 outdoor leadership, which again is another 4M. It's actually a phys ed credit, but we teach it with a you know, decidedly outdoor spin to it. So those are the credits that end up on your report card. But in the program, one of the most common things we hear for the first few weeks of Eco Studies is, what class are we in right now? Because aside from on your report card, those boxes don't really need to exist. Everything is very seamless and very blended. And in fact, we can be in multiple courses at the same time. We could be, you know, spend half a period in one class and shift into another topic from another class for a period and a half. Because we are an integrated program and you're with the same people all day, every day, we have the flexibility to basically let learning be natural. We're not a slave to the bell, and we can basically pick up and take off topics as needed, And it gives us the time to, again, learn cooperatively and take on really big initiatives that aren't possible anywhere else. Okay, so RBG, I'm sure many of you are acquainted with the gem that is the Royal Botanical Gardens. I'm sure many of you have been to the fancy planted gardens and the nice big fancy glass buildings along Plain Road, and maybe gone to some of the indoor exhibits in the wintertime. I even got married in the Med Garden, so it has a special place in my heart for sure. But our home base is actually at the Arboretum, and the Arboretum is kind of the starting point to 1,000 hectares of basically all these little micro ecosystems that are waiting to be explored. It really is, once you get to know it, got this intersect point between a provincially significant wetland and Cootes Paradise. You've got boreal forest, you've got Great Lakes St. Lawrence forest, you've even got like relic oak savanna and grasslands. So like there's all of these things that kind of intersect in this one tiny little, well, not so tiny, 1,000 hectares is pretty big. And this is our playground. This is our classroom for the semester. And we take a field trip every other day. We jump on a bus and head over to the Arboretum. And again, we take our learning outside. We really stand by our don't just learn it, live it motto. Okay, so we're getting out of the classroom. We're trying things on in the real world. We're also getting opportunities to not only learn about stuff, but learn to take advocacy and feel like you have the tools to make a difference. And do it with friends, do it with people who are going to support you. And really feel like you're in a place where you have the confidence to try these things out for the first time. It is amazing when you have that supportive group of peers. I know that you are all sitting in classes right now and you look around some of those classes and you're like, there's a lot of people in here that do not want to be here right now. Like I really like learning. This is my favorite class, and there are like 5 people across the room that could care less, and they're just making it hard for everybody. The nice thing about Eco Studies is people apply to be in the program because they want to be there, and you're going to be surrounded by people who have similar values, similar passions, and to surround yourself with those kinds of like-minded people is a real breath of fresh air for a lot of students. And you also build relationships unlike is possible in a regular classroom. You're going to be, again, spending all day, every day with the same group of people. And I guarantee at the end of the semester, you will know the majority of your classmates better than many people you consider your best friends today. And that is a trend we see every single year. Mr. Sefton, you want to talk a little bit about some of our leadership opportunities?
Absolutely, I do. So one of the things that makes Eco Studies different than other programs is I think that Eco Studies does an absolutely incredible, indescribably incredible job of building leadership capacity in students. So my background before I got into this program, before I even got into education, I spent a lot of time working with different leadership initiatives. I spent a long time working at summer camps and leadership programs like that. For example, spent 10 years at YMCA Wanakita, which is an absolutely amazing program. I spent some time before I got into teaching working at the Altitude Project at McMaster University. And I also spent a lot of time working on Link Crew programs. For those of you who don't know, Link Crew is an incredible opportunity we offer at Aldershot High School. It's offered at high schools around the world. It's actually an international program. And I do Link Crew training for teachers to implement Link Crew programs in their school, and I do that internationally. So I'm only telling you this to say I have a fair bit of experience with leadership programs, and I honestly can say and honestly believe that Eco Studies has the best leadership program ever that I've ever seen. Now, I'm saying that in part because we are very intentional. We do a lot of great stuff around leadership, but also because we have an advantage other programs don't. The first leadership program I encountered was the student counselor program at YMCA Wanakita. It was absolutely an incredible program. I got a lot out of that program. But at the end of the day, it's 1 month long. Our program goes for an entire semester. So we just have more time to really build those leadership capacity, those leadership skills. So what kinds of things do we do with that leadership capacity and those leadership skills? Well, we have a program called Eco Rangers, which is an absolutely awesome program we offer. Eco Rangers is a program whereby we have our students lead initiatives for elementary students. So we're like a field trip for the elementary students to come and learn about wetlands and wetland preservation. I put the link there to the Eco Rangers website. If you want to have a look, you can see what the Eco Rangers program is all about. Of course, that's sort of meant for the other side of the program, but it gives you an idea about what we do. We also have great opportunities to, for example, be leader of the day in Killarney Provincial Park, where students get to guide your fellow students through the backcountry in the park. And we really, really are very intentional and thoughtful about building strong leadership capacity in our students. All right.
Okay. So I know a lot of you are interested in the specialist high skills major end of the Eco Studies experience. And specialist high skills major is all about prying on what different aspects of a career in a particular employment sector would be. And ours is, of course, the environment sector. And beyond the the fact that so many people are very much connected to and passionate about wanting to preserve this amazing planet of ours, from a very much economic standpoint, the environment sector is a place where there are going to be jobs for all of you in the future. It is one of the fastest growing sectors in the Canadian economy. People ask me all the time, what kind of job could I get, if I take Eco Studies? And the answer is, whatever kind of job you thought you wanted to do before Eco Studies, if you put the word environment or environmental in front of it, that's probably a career now. So, whether it's traditional things like environmental engineering or, environmental protection, or, but you can even, get into all kinds of very specialized niche workplaces now, where basically there's at least one person that is their job to manage the environmental impact or the environmental commitment of a particular corporation. And people that have that background and that expertise, wherever else you go and whatever other kind of education and training that you receive after you leave high school, having that grounded foundation in understanding environmental philosophy and environmental thought processes and understanding how the planet works is going to really put you in a great position to be not just on track for a career that's very rewarding, but on track for one that's going to be in demand. And I know that that hasn't necessarily always been the case with this sector. Sorry, Veronica just threw a comment up there. She said, I'm applying for health sciences for university, and I'm able to take everything I've learned in Eco Studies and use it as I pursue medicine as well. So again, that's how cross-curricular, we hear that all the time from alumni, that the overall experience prepares them so well for success post-secondary, wherever that happens to take them. Okay, so the specialist high skills major, though, is about really trying to see if a focused career in something environmental is right for you. So you will get exposure to things like applied science. We do real field research like you might do in a third or fourth year university field course, or a college environmental assessment course. So you're getting a real window into, oh, is this something that I'd really like to do? I kind of always like science, but I really like being outside, and I didn't know if I could ever find a career that would kind of allow those two things to coexist. And the answer is absolutely they can. And some of the the best science that we have happening as a planet involves field research, which is a lot different than doing stuff in a laboratory. So you get a chance to try that on for yourself. We also have all kinds of exposure with experts, with our community partners like the RBG or Ducks Unlimited Canada, to get a window into what conservation initiatives look like. Again, it's all about really gaining some real world experience, so that when you're making these decisions that Mr. Sefton alluded to earlier, they don't feel so scary anymore, and you have some real foundation to start to build some of those big decisions that will be coming in grade 12. Okay. All right. So your environmental specialist high skills major, though, has a few different requirements. It is a specialized diploma. It is not a regular OSSD. It is a way to signal not just post-secondary institutions, but prospective employers, even before you graduate, that you're doing something different, you're going above and beyond, you're willing to do things a little bit differently to gain this experience and skills that are going to help you be successful. And to earn your specialist high skills major, you need 4 major credits. Those basically are your eco-studies credits. You need 3 supporting credits in English and math. So these are courses that you're going to have to take to graduate anyway. And you need a whole host of sector recognized certification and training pieces that you also receive as part of eco-studies. So things like standard first aid, WMIS awareness, GPS certifications, canoe training, leadership training, leave no trace, all things that employers in the environment sector could look at your resume and say, oh, you've done all these things, that's amazing, that fits into what we do here, 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 and here. And things that you maybe have never even heard of, like GIS, is highly sought after in the workplace. So you get exposure to all of these things. You get to build your resume, and those certifications and training pieces don't just show up. Some of them you'll get like an actual certification card to throw in your wallet. Other ones you will get, will show up on your official transcript as you've completed that. So when you graduate, you'll have a piece of paper that says, I did all of these things, and here are my marks, but I also did this amazing thing that was extra and different and special, and here's all the extra experiences that I was able to attain throughout high school. It really is an awesome resume builder, and if you're looking at applying for jobs that you think are going to help kickstart a career potentially, and you don't want to work at the the typical high school employment facilities in and around Burlington, nothing wrong with working at a grocery store or a fast food place, but summer employment with a conservation area or at the RBG, or a summer camp, maybe it's going to give you a window into getting those experiences to help you make good decisions as you try and figure out what comes next. Okay, this is the co-op bit. Again, in any other specialist high skills major, this is something that you have to either fit in via summer school or as a traditional co-op in the rest of grade 11 and 12. Some people can do this no problem. Other people find it really challenging to timetable, especially if you're going into a science-related discipline in university. It can be really hard to get math and science prerequisites and fit 2 credits of co-op in. Not impossible, but it can be a challenge. Some people can do it via summer school, but not everybody. Even for those of you who, again, as part of eco-studies next year, will get 2 co-op credits as part of the program, we highly encourage you to branch out. And if you've got a summer job that would be environment related, you can also convert that into another co-op experience. Or if you've got another internship type thing that maybe you've fallen into because of your summer employment, and you have an opportunity to job shadow for a semester over 1 or 2 periods, then you have the, and you have the flexibility in your timetable, by all means, take those opportunities, but they're not necessary to graduate with your specialist high skills major. That's going to basically be fulfilled in participating in eco-studies in one semester. Okay, so this is the RBG. This is what it looks like when we're at the RBG, whether we're doing leadership stuff, or whether we're, again, trying out some real field science, whether we're doing outdoor labs, or whether, we're just having some fun on a Friday afternoon, hanging out in nature. The RBG is an absolutely spectacular place to be able to call home. So to answer, backtrack a little bit, to Samantha and Connor's question, in order to get your specialist high skills major, you will have already earned 2 credits of co-op, assuming you're successful in the night school component of eco studies. So yes, in one semester, you can earn 6 credits. 2 of them are co-op, 4 of them academic credits. The night school is run through us. So Mr. Sefton and I are also both co-op teachers. So in order to be in the eco studies night school co-op, you have to be in our class. You can do night school co-op independently. Like, for example, people have part-time jobs that they can convert to a night school co-op experience. That can happen. But again, that isn't necessary outside of the program. Russell, hold on to the iSTEM questions. We're going to answer a whole bunch of those in just a few minutes, okay? And as far as night school co-op works, it's just the in-class portion that we have to offer via the night part. So it's, a few classes after school in February to kind of get everybody's co-op experience started. And then it's just being in eco studies for the most part. We're also going to set up other opportunities for people with some of our community partners that should you choose to participate in on weekends, things that maybe you have never had the opportunity to do before with respect to doing like habitat restoration work, or working with, Burlington Green. There'll be all kinds of things that might add to your co-op hours accumulation. But the bulk of your co-op hours happens because you are undertaking eco studies experiences that go outside the school day. All right, the other awesome part of eco studies is we go on adventure trips. So these adventure trips, again, go along with our motto of don't just learn it, live it. They allow us to get into nature, so, kind of go into immersion mode. And really experience and experience being together in a way that that even being together for an entire school day every day, 5 days a week, can't prepare you for. So our first adventure trip is a 3-day Bruce Trail hike locally. It allows us to really see the amazing nature that is so close to home. We are amazingly lucky to live in Halton and have the Niagara Escarpment in our backyard. And this is just a reminder to allow us to kind of try on some of our newly minted camping skills, and work up towards, tackling a much bigger trip, which is our 5-day canoe trip in Lake Field Study in Killarney Provincial Park. Killarney is absolutely stunningly beautiful. For those of you who have been lucky enough to go there, I'm sure you would verify that particular comment. It's considered the crown jewel of Ontario parks. It exists because the area, which was being heavily logged in the early 1900s, was viewed as being so special by a particular group of Ontario artists, now famously known as the Group of Seven. I'm sure that most of you have probably heard of the Group of Seven, who are really, really in a lot of ways responsible for, when you close your eyes and you think about, you think, what does Canada look like? You probably picture a Group of Seven landscape. And chances are that landscape is Killarney, because again, it was such a prolific part of the Group of Seven portfolio. So this is where we go, but we go there not because it's stunningly beautiful, but because it's tragically beautiful. So even though it was saved by the logging, unfortunately, throughout the later parts of the 1900s, it was seriously acidified by the smelting operations in and around Sudbury. So acid rain and snow rained down on the area, and because of the geology specifically in Killarney, it was impacted worse than almost anywhere in the near vicinity. So it's an amazing place to go to see just how human impact can extend to a place so pristine, and to also look though at what some of the factors are that have made the recovery happen at different rates for different lakes, which is pretty awesome. We can see lakes that are, have rebounded tremendously. Even I started doing lake water quality studies in the early 1990s in Killarney, and even since then, it's improved a tremendous amount. But it's still got a long way to go, especially in some lakes. So that's part of that's the main reason why we go there. It's like a chemistry experiment waiting to be explored. And again, it really is a cathedral, unlike almost any other. Okay, hold those questions. Those are the kinds of things we are going to dive into closer to the end. But I promise we'll circle back to those. Those are great questions. So as you look at these pictures, guys, what I also want you to think about is you are looking at not just students on a field trip. These students aren't missing class. They're in class, right? This is our classroom. Okay. For next year, for this year, we are in the process of trying to get a big trip off the ground. We're hoping to get to Vancouver Island and do potentially some backcountry sea kayaking this spring. Next spring, we may try to do a similar trip, or if the school board has opened up things again with respect to international travel, we may try to aim a little bit farther away from home. Top on our list of international destinations are Costa Rica, Belize, and Iceland. So that is the mad scientist, Mr. Blair, talking about what might be in the works for next year. Again, no guarantees. It comes down a lot to what we can get permission to do, but those are on the radar as a third trip. Our third trip happens right at the end of the year. It is optional. As you can imagine, going on a bigger trip like that does have a higher cost to it, and that's why this is a trip that that is optional. So if we have enough interest and we can make it happen, we will do our very best to try. So if that doesn't happen, we always have a more local destination as backup. But this is sort of what we're trying to get off the ground this year and hopefully perpetuate for years to come. We'll get to costs in a few minutes as well. Okay, so how do you know this is going to be right for you? Well, there's a few things that that if you answer yes to any of these questions, then it's certainly worth exploring. So if you are passionate about the environment and you want to make a difference to make our planet a better place, there is hands down no better opportunity in the Halton District School Board than Eco-Studies for you to do that. I guarantee you will have the capability to learn more about the problems, but more importantly, learn how to do something positive about them. So absolutely, if that is you, you really want to consider this more seriously than any other academic decision you've ever made in your entire life. Now, if you aren't super passionate about the environment, or you like the environment, you're like respect the environment, but you never maybe thought about it as something you wanted to do as a career, that's okay too. If you sit in a normal classroom and think to yourself, you know what, I feel like this should be different. This should be something that speaks to me in this process. This something should help me to meet my learning needs in a way that I feel aren't happening when I'm surrounded by brick walls. Then eco studies is definitely something you want to consider. If you love current issues, you want to see meaning in what you're learning because it connects to what's happening right now in the real world, then you should also think about eco studies. If you just like being outside, if you're like, you just, can't wait to get out of class so you can go get some fresh air and be in the sunshine, even go for a walk in the rain. If that's you, then you should consider eco studies. All those reasons add up to, there is no one magic combination that makes a perfect eco studies student. But again, if any one of those things stands out to you, then this is something you really want to consider. Okay. Talked a little bit about the future career, the JOB stuff. And before you get to the JOB, typically there is some extra school that needs to happen between the high school and what comes next. And eco studies does help you, especially if you want to go into an environment-specific career, to obviously get the foundation of knowledge, not just skill and leadership and all of those. I hate the word soft skills, but all of those intangibles that come with eco studies. Beyond that, if you are passionate about getting into an environmental program outside of high school, whether it's University Earth and Environmental Science or ecology or even biology or environmental engineering, hands down, eco studies is an awesome springboard to do that. There are also amazing college programs, even all around the GTA, looking at different aspects of, water quality management or environmental restoration or sustainable technologies. So many opportunities out there right now. If you are thinking that you want to be a teacher, this is something we haven't talked about yet. If you see yourself being in this seat at some point in the future, there is no better opportunity in high school, anywhere, to try out what being a teacher actually is like. But not only that, have an entire program that is aimed at giving you the skills to do that successfully in a way that you never thought probably required as much forethought as it actually does. And if you just, again, want to work outside and you're like, I'd really like to get some experience, I'd love to go on a canoe trip. We've had students that have gone on to guiding programs and have had successful careers, leading people into the backcountry, and that just becomes their passion. So there's all kinds of things that can come out of your eco studies semester. These are quotes from students. I'm going to fast forward because we have some better student perspectives that are going to be live. And I'm going to just do this because I'm going to invite Ashley and Veronica to come back on.
Yeah, we're gonna do a live sort of. We have got the testimonial video. If you want to see that testimonial video, by the way, that they were about to play, you can go to our YouTube channel, and you will see there on our YouTube channel that we have that exact testimonial video. That is the Eco Studies 2022 class talking about their experiences. Now, we're going to do a sort of live interview for you. I'm going to interview our two amazing Eco Studies students who volunteered to be with us tonight. So I'll start by introducing them. So the first student I'll introduce you to is Ashley McLean. Ashley McLean is a student who has, she graduated from the Eco Studies 2022 year, and she is now doing her co-op with me, and so she's done some learning around that as well. And she is currently an iSTEM student. So when she finishes her diploma, she will have a iSTEM certificate as well as a specialist high skills major in environment with eco studies. And she has recently got into U Ottawa, which was her first choice school. So she's excited to be doing that. I'll also introduce you to this other lovely young lady with the hat on. This is Veronica Ganitis. Veronica is an exceptional student. She is our sort of non-iSTEM eco studies student. She is currently applying to health science programs as well as some arts programs. Oh, my dog just ran in. Hello. And she is also an incredibly talented writer whose play will be going, thank you, whose play will be going to National Theatre School Drama Festival this year. So I'm going to start by asking, I'm going to start with you, Ashley. I'm going to ask you our first question. What is one of your favorite things you learned about or learned in eco studies?
I would have to say a lot of the stuff would have to be around natural processes and astrology stuff, which was a lot in our earth and space science courses. It really interests me in just all the different stuff we got to learn that wouldn't be in a normal science class, and to the extent we got to learn being grade 12 students, learning about a bunch of like things about black holes and just how different things work in space and different things work with like natural resources, and not just about the environment, but the world as a whole.
Okay, and so now I'm going to offer the same question to Veronica. So Veronica, what was your favorite thing that you learned in eco studies?
One of the important things I learned, favorite, is a lot about everything we learned on the trips, like how to do setting up tents, canoeing, cooking outside. When you're like alone for 10 days or 5 days, sorry, with people together, you learn way too much. And another important thing is everything about climate change. I really, really enjoyed that unit and everything we learned about, even like in the classroom when we were going to the RBG. And I've been able to take a lot of learning from that aspect, and I'm actually applying it to a couple of my application questions for university when they're asking about what we could do to change the environment for the better. And I've taken everything I've learned from eco studies, and I'm basically like telling all about the environment.
About 500 times now, I'm going to start talking with my mic off, just so you know. So awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica. This question I'm only going to ask to Ashley. I know a few of you here today are iSTEM students, and your question is about doing iSTEM with eco studies. So Ashley is of course doing iSTEM with eco studies, and she managed to make it work. So Ashley, my question to you is, and how has eco studies helped to like enhance your iSTEM experience, or how have you managed to make that work?
So a lot of the things we do in iSTEM, we work on UN sustainable goals and just helping the world a bit. And so when looking at that as an eco studies perspective, we also focus a lot on the environment and stuff, and we do a lot of research projects and how to apply our learning. So when translating that back to iSTEM, we can take some of the learning we do in eco studies and use it for our projects in iSTEM and vice versa. So we're really getting a more in-depth learning than some of the other students in iSTEM. It helps us with like projects and stuff like that, and as well as just keeping a hands-on learning experience throughout the entire semester. So iSTEM only has a couple of classes per like in grade 11, you only have about one class in iSTEM and the rest are normal. But when you do eco studies, all of it is hands-on as well. So your entire semester is hands-on, not just in iSTEM, but also eco studies. And I think that's really cool.
Told you I'm going to keep doing that. Okay, great. Thanks, Ashley. That was excellent. This time I'm going to make Veronica answer first because I made Ashley answer first last time. So Veronica, my question for you is, how has eco studies had an impact on you or your life outside of school, outside of an academic situation?
Okay, so outside of school, I have a part-time job where I teach kids, and I'm teaching them how to swim like every week. And so I took a lot of leadership, collaboration, all those skills we learned in eco studies of how to really build those really great relationships with others and how to really like show kids like how can you be like a leader. We did something called Eco Rangers and Eco Studies where we got to work with elementary kids, and I felt so much more confident in helping children in that way, and it made me have like a lot of hope for even the future when I want to be in health sciences and I want to work with children. It's taught me a lot about building relationships, and now every day I'm meeting new people. I'm continuing to build like great relationships with friends, with families, and I feel like a lot of it came from the connections I built with the people in eco studies and everything we learned together. So that's something that's really helped me outside of school.
That's great. I think that people are starting to see a theme here about the people and the connections, right? And there's no question in my mind that Ashley's probably going to explore some of that as well. But Ashley, why don't you tell us an example of how eco studies has been useful to you, or how you've managed to apply eco studies outside of your regular classroom?
Yeah, so I believe that eco studies really made me become more confident with who I am and what I can do and my abilities. It really helped me see that like the things that I enjoy doing aren't weird, and a lot of other people like doing it too. And I really grew to enjoy who I am and make more connections with the people around me and just be more confident in my daily life and do more things that I want to do rather than what other people think I should be doing. So
That's awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Okay, so this next question, I'm going to make Ashley go first again, because why not? So this is our last question I'm going to ask to each of you. The question is, what was the best part of eco studies for you? So the question for you is, what was of eco studies was the best part? And that could be like a great story, or it could just be like, this is something I really enjoyed about eco studies. Best part of eco studies, Ashley.
Okay, so I have two answers for this, but Ronnie and I talked a bit before, and I'll let her do my other answer, because it's a common answer. But I think I also really enjoyed being a leader and being able to demonstrate my leadership skills and all the capabilities that I know I can do. I've been in scouting since I was really little, and so being in nature, going camping is just kind of always come natural to me. Setting up a tent, setting up like making fire and all that. So I really enjoyed helping and teaching the other kids in eco studies who were like brand new to all this stuff, how to do these things properly, and I could show them how to tie knots and how to set up a tent. And it was just really cool to be able to be a leader to not like little kids, but people my own age, and just being helpful and showing off stuff that I can do.
All right, cool. That's awesome. Thanks again for sharing that, Ashley. And last but not least, Veronica, what was your best part of eco studies for you? And I feel like I already know what the answer is.
It's the people. Again, I just like everything about going on trips with like the same people and like being with the same people in the classroom. Like you really get to rely on each other for like everything. Like there was like so many times where like we would be on like the Killarney trip we went on, and there was like black flies everywhere, and we just hated it. We hated it so much, but we had such a good laugh out of it because we were all in it together, and we were like, oh, we're gonna be okay, and as long as we have each other, it's gonna be good. And I don't know, that really teaches you a lot about being with people, and that's what made like after that trip I've had so many like friendships come out of that, and it was just amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you both. I think one of the things that's a common theme when I ask eco studies alumni about like what is like the best part of it, it constantly coming back to the people. People often say like the eco studies family, and I think that is definitely true. I think if nothing else attests to that, seeing you guys put the entire eco studies class into a single tent willingly, in spite of the fact that we had many other tents set up and it was completely unnecessary. But you wanted to spend that time together, and so why not?
To be
put
fair, it
17
was a very big tent.
It was a 6-person tent. It was a big tent, but it wasn't a 17-person tent. So that's one of the things that I think that's a testament to the kind of relationships you build. And I'm so glad to hear you guys say that, because I think that when it comes right down to it, one of the best things that we can do as human beings is build positive relationships. So we'll turn things back to Mr. Blair. Thank you very much. You guys give a round of applause for Ashley and Veronica here. You don't have to turn your mics off, but you certainly can. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. I very much appreciate it. One of the hardest things for us to do as teachers when we're trying to promote this program is really speak to the importance of the community. And I think you captured that beautifully. So thank you so much for your time tonight. And it's always awesome to hear about your experiences as well. Okay, back to where we were. All right, so if you like what you hear and you're like, I am confident and ready to make this commitment, it is now application season. Applications are open. You can go online to ecostudies.ca. The process is very clearly laid out there. But essentially, you need to put in an online application. You need to go on My Blueprint if you haven't already done so. Many of you have, which is awesome. And flag the RBG Eco Studies program and Environment Specialist High Skills major at Aldershot School as an interested student. That's an important step because it shows the school board that you're interested, and when they are allocating teachers to teach stuff next year, then they know there are lots of people waiting to take eco studies. So that's sort of the entry point into the program, if you will, is via My Blueprint. And we also want to hear from your teachers, or if you have other people in your life outside of school, coaches, people that you work for, a boss maybe, that you think knows you better than maybe some of your teachers, feel free to have them fill out the online teacher referral form. And to do that, it's just a Google form that you can send them the link to. There's even a script that you can cut and paste into an email to send out as soon as you can. We would love to have all of our applications in before the holidays. That really helps us to start to organize our interview process, which is the next step in the Eco Studies application phases. And then we can schedule those typically over the exam turnaround. And then by the beginning of second semester, you would know whether you're accepted and be able to make sure that your course selection is in place long before the actual final deadline. So that's sort of the next steps, if you will. Now, I know we've got some questions, and I would love to tackle some of those now.
So I
Ms.
believe
Hellman,
Dana had some requested.
yeah, Ms. Hellman, I think had a list. If you want to maybe fire some of those back in the chat, or just
So there's 2 in the chat right now. Do you want to answer those, and then I'll keep
sure,
plugging
let's
them
start
in?
there. So the absolute number is hard to nail down. What I can say is the more people that apply, the more people we can accept. However, there are sort of tipping points, right? So this year, for the first year or ever, we have a double cohort, which will have close to 40 people in it. But if we don't have over 40 people applying, then the number drops back down to one cohort, which kind of has its own limits associated with it. So it's there is no magic number that we can give you, but depending on the number of people that apply, there are limited spaces. But the more people that apply, the more spaces that we have. That's as much as I can kind of tell you right now. Costs. So from year to year, all of the experiences that you do throughout the main part of the semester costs a maximum of $500. Now, often we're able to bring that cost down. And when we can do that ahead of the semester, then the student fee that we charge basically around this time of year goes down below $500. And if we can't do it then, but we can acquire funding while we're in our semester, and we get extra money and we can't spend all of yours, then you get a refund at the end. So it's, again, there's so many moving parts in an eco-studies semester, and the costs of things, whether it's transportation and gas and a lot of variable costs that can change from month to month, week to week. But we know we can make it happen for at the most $500 per person. Now, that doesn't include the big trip at the end of the year, and those costs are dependent on the location that's chosen. But what I could tell you is the trip that we're trying to get off the ground to go to British Columbia for 7 days would cost around $3,000. But that's an optional trip. That's not one that we would only run that if there were enough people that were interested, and it wouldn't be something that that everybody had to pay for sure.
Yeah, so just to highlight that cost thing, we try and get the cost as low as possible. $500 is sort of our maximum. If we charge you $500 and we can get the cost lower, you'll get money refunded to you.
If we have two full cohorts next year as well, it's possible that sort of semester cost could come down significantly, like maybe down to a couple $100. But again, it depends on so much right now that what I can tell you is the max would be 5.
Yeah.
What else we got here?
And some out loud, because as people enter them, I've just been recording them.
So Connor had up there, I see transportation. If you are in Burlington, Connor, the school board typically will allocate you a city bus pass. If you are outside of Burlington, unfortunately, you do need to find a way to Aldershot on your own. However, we do have students coming from various communities, especially for iSTEM, from Oakville and from Milton. And there are carpools, and there's even private transportation that's been arranged, like buses that come from various communities. So we're happy to try and help navigate any transportation situation that you might have. Right back. Sorry, my cat needs out of the office.
No problem. I'll address the co-op questions. I see that a lot of people have the question about the co-op. So basically, it is a night school co-op. So when you take a co-op class, it's not like a regular class where you like have class every single day. You have class and then you have the experience portion of it. So typically in a co-op, there's going to be like probably about 2 weeks worth of class that's going to be in class time getting ready for your co-op. That would happen typically in the night school. So we're talking about 2 weeks. Now, I did put a note on there. I was answering this question to some people. We are going to have asynchronous options as well for the in-class co-op. So, if you were to, if you're like, well, I can't do this day for the night school co-op, that's the same as what would happen if you were sick for a day and couldn't come to school, right? Your teacher doesn't just go, well, you missed class, you're out of luck, right? What they do is we provide you with a way to make up the time. So we'll probably, what we'll probably end up doing, and this is the first year we've done the integrated co-op this coming semester as well. This is the first year we've done a double course. So there's a couple of sort of like, there's a couple of like unknowns at this point, but basically our anticipation is that we will be offering that, plus as well there will be sort of like ways to do it via Brightspace if you can't for whatever reason make the night school. And then the co-op experiences themselves are built into the program. So for example, when we're in Killarney, we're going to be doing some co-op experiences with Killarney, with Parks Ontario, in front country, in back country, we're doing co-op experience with some guiding and outdoor advocacy groups. So those are built into the actual experiences. So you would do those just like a regular co-op semester, a regular eco-studies semester would do a trip. You guys would be getting some co-op hours for those as well.
All right, what else have we got here?
So I think that answered the how many days after school would it be. iSTEM and French immersion, I think Ashley addressed that. As far as French immersion goes,
I'll talk a little bit more because I know we've got a lot of iSTEM people. The nice thing about last semester was for the first time ever we were able to integrate iSTEM students into the program, and I can tell you that it went amazingly well. It was awesome to have iSTEM students in the mix, and you know, help them build on their already amazing skill set, as well as, you know, give them a slightly different window through which to kind of go through the experiential learning model from again, the eco perspective. So if you know, you really like that type of learning in iSTEM, this is something that that makes it in some ways even more authentic than some of the experiences that you've had the opportunity in iSTEM. As far as what your timetable would look like, basically in first semester, you would need to take your grade 11 math, and most likely your IDC iSTEM course. Those would be the prerequisites that you would kind of need to take. And then you'd have a couple spaces to fit in other science classes or other electives that you would choose. Because you do get your grade 11 English as part of the program, you don't have to worry about that, taking that ahead of time. That's part of the, you know, your second semester experience. And the other thing that you can remember is when you're building and you're sitting down with guidance and you really, you know, to navigate this, oftentimes it feels really a challenge to work through the timetabling aspect of things. But what I encourage you is, if this is something you really want to do, if you run into a roadblock, come see me or Mr. Sefton. We've got plenty of experience. There's almost always a solution to what might seem insurmountable in isolation. So have conversations with your guidance counselor, have conversations with us. We've run into all kinds of different iterations of troubleshooting that we can help you navigate those problems. So don't discount it because you think it won't work, because I can almost guarantee we can find a way to make it work.
All right, I want to make sure we get to all these questions. So the schedule of the trips. So our first trip, I can tell you what typically happens. I can't make any guarantees. Our first trip is usually either the last weekend of April or the first weekend of May. And we start on the Thursday and we go the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You get home on the Saturday and can be home for Sunday. The Killarney trip will be the weekend after the long weekend. So after Victoria Day long weekend in May. So it's towards the end of May, and it would go over the weekend. So it's 5 days. So it would be like, we might do, it's again, the timing changes, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we leave on the Thursday, back on the Monday. Now the third trip is totally up in the air, because that's the one that we don't really know. If we're looking at a bigger trip like a BC trip, because it is optional, it'll happen towards the end of the year, so almost at the end of June, so that we
basically exam week is when we were aiming to go this year.
Yeah, if it's a trip like that. If it's a more local trip, that again would be included in that $500 fee. If we are doing a local trip, then that trip would probably happen closer to the beginning of June. So I think we talked about
sports. A bunch of sports questions on here. Absolutely, you can play sports and be in eco studies. Typically, our school day is the Aldershot school day. There are times when we do extend that, but you know, we're pretty flexible, and you'll know pretty far out when those days might be. If you are from another school, you can even play sports at your home school while being at Aldershot. So the sort of the rules around, you know, when you transfer schools, you're not allowed to play the sport because you're a specialist high skills major student. Technically, you're still your school student at the same time as you're at Aldershot in the specialist high skills major. So you can still participate in sports. You don't have to give it up. And
Yeah,
then
I
I
know,
think,
for
Justin,
example,
you said, can this work for AP students? Is that Abbey Park? Am I reading that right? I'll answer it like that. That's the interpretation. Certainly, students from anywhere in Halton have equal opportunity to participate in eco-studies. We love having people from outside the school participate. Again, it's all about diversity of experience and diversity of expertise to make it the most kind of enriched learning opportunity that we can. And having lots of people from all over Halton helps make that possible. So absolutely, you can stay at your home school for first semester, pick up the courses that you need, maybe to set yourself up for various prerequisites in grade 12, come to eco-studies for second semester, and then go back to Abbey Park for grade 12. That's a very common way to kind of work things.
Okay, so just to highlight the sports question too, Ashley, I know, I'm not sure if she's logged off yet, but I know Ashley did a couple of sports, including softball. What did you do? Did you just do softball, or were there a couple others?
I did, or no, last year was just softball.
Okay. Yeah, and so it is absolutely possible to do the sports with eco studies. We had, I think, half the softball team was in our eco studies program last year. So to go
sometimes I will say this though. Occasionally, if your team like is really successful, let's say, and makes it to OFSA in the spring, sometimes we run into conflicts on weekends for trips for like final tournaments and stuff like that. But that's very rare and pretty, you know, pretty specific. Justin, I saw your advanced placement. No, that was AP, not Abbey Park. So advanced placement, you can continue to do your AP program in your home school. You're just basically taking a semester off to come get your specialist high skills major. That's basically how that would work. And your Duke of Ed is 100% compatible with eco studies. In fact, you can use your eco studies experience to get your Duke of Ed award. In fact, in one semester, you can earn basically a bronze level Duke of Ed because you've got your adventurous journey in the mix. You've got all kinds of leadership capacity. You've got all kinds of community work that can be put in the mix for your Duke of Ed as well. So it's quite compatible. In fact, we encourage students to independently look at applying to be part of the Duke of Ed program.
So the question of which days of the week do we go to the RBG? We go to the RBG on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's been the case since Eco Studies started, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So the questions about applying to universities outside of Canada. So anytime you're applying to a university outside of Canada, you're always kind of going a little bit outside the box. By that, I mean that there's credit transfers that are happening. All of that will happen. What the thing is, once you get outside of Canada, this term specialist high skills major, people don't necessarily know what that means. So it doesn't give you the same leg up as it would in.
Well, I would say this though, it is a ministry of or like a Ontario Education Ministry creation.
Yeah.
So it has the most it's most recognizable within the province of Ontario. However, again, as a resume builder, as something that you put in a portfolio, there are all of the things that are part of your specialist high skills major that are still going to be an asset, even though somebody at a school in France might not know what a red seal means on your diploma. You're still going to have all of these other things that will set you apart.
Yeah, so that's where I was sort of going to go with that. So the other element of a specialist high skills major is you don't just get a specialized diploma, but you get a special transcript, and on your transcript is listed your certifications. So you've kind of got this portfolio. So you're applying to a program, say in Europe, and they're going to see on your portfolio that you've used global information systems, GPS and map training, that you've got, that's going to be built into your diploma, and that is not on a normal student's diploma. So as much as the term specialist high skills major, it is actually known, like people know what that term means across the country and even in other countries, because you're not the first Ontario student to ever apply.
There are East Coast universities that have scholarships for Ontario specialist high skills major students. So
yeah, and your guidance department has a list of universities and colleges that have scholarships specific to specialist high skills majors. I know, for example, Brock and Western, but as you point out, East Coast universities, I think McGill has some specialist high skills major.
St. Mary's had one. I don't know if they still do,
Mary's,
but at one point they had quite a significant one, actually.
Yeah. So it's not like it's not recognized outside of Ontario. It has more clout within Ontario than it does outside of Ontario. But again, the real advantage is that you've got this portfolio of training and certifications that's going on your transcript. So universities are seeing that as opposed to like supplementary applications. So the question there about how much physical activity is involved on a daily basis, yeah, we're a lot more physical, a lot more hands-on. Now that, I want to be perfectly clear, nobody's running marathons as part of their eco-studies day. Yeah, the trips can get a little physically intense, but, I think that, it's interesting. We have Veronica and Ashley here. So I might sort of get them to speak to their experience about how it felt physically. But I can tell you, Ashley is an athlete. Veronica is an arts kid. But I don't think either one of you would say that you were too physically taxed by the program. But what I will say is definitely you did more. Like you were outside physically doing more. A lot of it might have been games and stuff. I don't know if Veronica or Ashley want to kind of talk to that a little bit. Ashley points at Veronica. Veronica points at Ashley.
I can go. Yeah, I do a lot of hiking even outside of eco studies, but a lot of the canoeing and kayaking was a little more new to me. I've done other canoe trips, but nothing as intense, I should say, as Killarney. But it was honestly really freaking cool to be able to do that stuff. And I am also an arts kid. Thank you very much.
You are, Ashley.
And Veronica's also an athlete. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm trying to talk about diversity.
But the sports I do don't really coincide with the things we're doing in eco studies, but everyone was able to do it to the best of their abilities as well as me. And there's only so much you can really prepare for. But yeah, it all was cool.
Yeah.
I think it adds up to the fact that we are active, but that activity is accessible to everybody that's in the class, no matter where your starting point is with physical fitness.
That was much better said than what I said. Yeah, Veronica, did you want to make a comment about the activity level?
Yeah, I walk to school a lot, and I feel like ever since eco studies, I've been trying to walk more and do more stuff outside. The first time, eco studies was a lot of firsts for me. I never canoed ever. I never hiked like that. I never did any of that before. I never camped in a tent. That was everything about that was so new. And I know that my family at least isn't the people that would go on those trips. So I don't know when I will do that again. But I will say it made me so much more outdoorsy, and I'm not like that. I'm artsy, Yeah.
But Ashley has definitely earned her arts kid cred, especially this semester. And Veronica always earns her athlete cred. She's a swimmer. I shouldn't have said she's not an athlete. That's not fair. But yeah, the point is that it's not like you have to have, there's no physical stamina requirement.
Any other questions? I think we're getting close to the end here, but we want to, this is your opportunity to ask the experts, so to speak. And if you think of something after the meet ends, we're only ever an email away. And you know, Blair J at hdsb.ca, Sefton J at hdsb.ca, Helmut D at hdsb.ca. Go on the website. Go on, you know, if you're at Aldershot, come see us. Ask your question in person. We love to chat with people. But again, we're only ever an email away.